Hey guys, this is Justin with Rocky Mountain ATV MC, and this is part 2 of how to buy a used bike. Alright guys, hopefully you watched part 1 where Jay gave some great information and tips on how to buy a used bike. Hopefully with that information you're going to walk away with a pretty solid used bike. Unlike the bike I have here, this is part of our YZ250 Revival bike build. We picked this up really cheap. The motor's blown. It's going to be a lot of work. So hopefully your used bike isn't going to be a lot of work. Now, this video in part 2, I want to talk about what you do with your bike after you buy it and you bring it home. I'm going to give you some tips and some things to look for so that when you take it out, it's going to be safe and it's, you know, if there are little problems, they're not going to turn into bigger problems. All right, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is give the bike a more thorough inspection. Hopefully you were able to inspect the bike pretty good when you were looking at it, and hopefully you walked away with a pretty solid bike. But now that we have it home, we want to inspect everything in more detail. So one of the first things I do is I check all the fasteners, bolts, nuts. I want to make sure everything's tight, make sure nothing's missing. If it is, I'm going to replace those things. I'm going to go over brake pads, check the brake pad thickness. If they need to be replaced, I'm going to replace them. Take a close look at your chain and sprockets. Make sure everything looks good there. Again, replace parts you need to replace. Another thing you need to watch is your spokes. Check their tension, make sure the spokes are tight. A lot of times on a used bike, the spoke nipples will get seized up on the spokes, so you may have to use a little liquid wrench, WD-40, let them soak a little bit, and then check their tension. And we do have a video on how to tighten spokes. Those are just some of the main things that I keep an eye out for when I'm going over a bike. Obviously you want to sit on it, you want to feel the brakes, make sure they're working properly, and just make sure everything feels all right. After you've inspected everything, now it's time to do the maintenance. And you know, one of the first things I do is I check the air filter a little closer. You know, whether the guy that had it before me has the air filter clean or whether it's dirty, I'm going to pull it out, I'm going to wash it correctly and oil it correctly. I never know if the other guy did it right. He may have been in a hurry, had a couple dry spots, and I don't want to risk getting dirt in the new bike I just purchased. So always take care of the air filter no matter what. I usually change the oil unless I can see maybe in a side window on the case that the oil is just perfectly clean. I'm going to change the oil. I want to start with the right stuff in the bike. Of course, you want to check your coolant level, your brake fluid level, and don't forget about your tire pressure. Another thing that I always do is grease the bearings on the bike. So the linkage, especially your swing arm linkage, shock bearings, those dry out and a lot of people don't check them. So I would tear it apart, clean everything really well and grease it. The steering stem bearings also is a good place to check and grease as well. So with all the maintenance done on the bike, you're ready to set it up so it's right for you. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to play with the suspension a little bit. On any bike that you ride, new or used, the first thing you're going to want to do is set the race sag. And we have a video that shows you how to do that. But sag is really important. Everybody's weight is different, so you want to make sure that the bike is set correctly for your weight. The other thing I like to do is, you know, if the suspension is stock, which I always like to find a bike with stock suspension, I like to find out where the stock settings are. So I'll either buy an owner's manual or search online to find the stock clicker settings. So I can set the rebound and compression clickers back to stock. A lot of guys can get way off on their clickers and then you'll get the bike and it's just not going to work right. So I always like to get the clickers back to stock and I can play with them from there. The next thing that you're going to want to do is check your brake pedal height. Make sure that's where you want it. And then I always like to set the handlebars in a position that's comfortable for me, that I'm familiar with. And of course, put the levers in a position that you're comfortable with as well. Once you do those things and the bike is set up and ready to go, it's going to be more safe. You're going to prevent any other problem from getting worse and causing more damage to the bike, and you're going to have a solid used bike. So now that you're ready to take the bike out, the last tip I have is to just go easy on the bike at first. Take your time, get a feel for the brakes, what the brakes are doing, get a feel for the power curve and how the bike handles. Once you get comfortable with the bike, of course, you can step it up. Hopefully this video and part 1 will help you get yourself into a good used bike. Remember that we have a lot of how-to videos that are going to help you fix any problems you might have and help you maintain your bike so you don't run into those problems. So be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel to check out those videos, and check out our website for all your parts, apparel, and accessory needs. Thanks for watching.